Ladies and gentlemen, let's Red Gaming Telecom video. We're going to be showing a buyer's guide on how to build a 1080p capable gaming PC for $750 US. So this is for June 2014, and the goal, as you could probably guess, is primarily focused upon gaming. We're looking to tear through games focused at 1080p or above. I've done this as an article as well, which has all of the items that I'm going to list written out along with their current prices, just in case you prefer written guides rather than verbal. And it's also got links as well, so it'll probably help you out a little bit. But anyway, there are a couple of alternative components depending on your price range, but I'm going to assume you're at $750. Obviously, if you've got some parts you can reuse, then by all means you can go for a couple more of the expensive bits and bobs that we're going to discuss. First of all, the CPU. It's going to cost you $114 US, and that's going to be the Intel Core i3-4130. In the UK, that's going to cost you about 80 Great British pounds, just for your FYI. So this is socket 1150, and of course is based on Haswell technology, runs at 3.4 gigahertz, is hyper-threading, so can handle up to 4 threads. We're going to be running this with a standard retail heatsink because, well, we're not going to be really overclocking it anyway. It's about the fastest you can get. It's about even with a lot of the AMD CPUs, but slightly faster in gaming, slightly slower in most encoding. But because we're going gaming focused, we've pushed towards Intel. If you want to spend a bit more cash, then by all means do so and grab the i5 4670K, so 4670K. The K denotes that it could be overclocked, and it lacks hyperthreading, but makes up for it with an additional 2 real cores. It's faster, but it's going to cost you quite a bit more cash. The 4670 is about $100 more expensive. Motherboard, well, we've got the MSI Z87G43 DDR3, of course. That's going to cost you $107 US. On the other hand, it's going to cost you around 80 Great British pounds. Obviously, give or take a few pennies. This motherboard is well loved by reviewers and gamers. It's pretty good for overclocking, just in case you ever did want to go for a better CPU in the future. There were other options, like for example the Asus H81MA80X, which is quite a bit cheaper. For example, it's about $40 cheaper, but this is a full-size board, which I personally prefer, and in addition to that, that means you get extra RAM slots, it means you've got extra sockets overall inside the system, and I think for many gamers, because it's just got those extra features, I think it's probably going to be worth it, because this is going to be probably a solid base for you for quite a while. Also worthy of note, this will of course feature SATA 3, USB 3, PCIe 3, basically everything free, and memory support of DDR3 3000 up to 4 slots, by the way, 64 gigs of RAM, and Realtek, Ethernet, and audio. So pretty much everything that you need. Speaking of RAM, there's the ADATA XPGV2, 8GB, DDR3, 12,800. So 8GB is about the minimum that you could want here. It's worth noting that, in my personal opinion, it's probably a slightly better buy than the Corsair Vengeance Blue, which is about $20 more expensive. It's a tricky situation, honestly. Personally speaking, I would go with the ADATA simply because it's a bit cheaper, but Corsair is also very, 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 very popular. So there's neither one that's wrong here. But 8GB is about the minimum you can go with, to be honest. Next, graphics cards. There's actually 2 recommendations. You can go with the GeForce GTX 770. That's $310, or if you're paying in pounds, $271. Or you could go for the Radeon R9 280X. That's $279 if you're paying in, once again, dollars, or $209 if you're paying in pounds. I have linked, by the way, the relevant bits and pieces here. So, yeah. So, I've actually had this debate just a few days ago. regarding, is it better to go the R9 280X or the GeForce GTX 770? The R9 is considerably cheaper, but isn't quite as fast. On the other hand, Nvidia have G-Sync physics and the other usual optimizations for Nvidia. AMD, on the other hand, have True Audio, Mantle, and the other bits and bobs. Here's the thing. I don't think either card is better than the other. I know people that absolutely hate Nvidia drivers. They just don't like how they are. They become frightened and confused when they use them after using AMD for a while. On the other hand, I know people who are the opposite. I have some people swear blind that their PC crashes more with another card or whatever. Even though, to be honest, I think a lot of it is just your preference. And I think sometimes people try to justify their preference. I've recommended both evenly. I don't particularly feel that one is better than the other, personally. Next up, hard drive. I've gone with the WD Blue 1TB. It's going to cost you about 56 Great British pounds, great US dollars, 56 US dollars, or about £40. There's no way in hell that we can squeeze in an SSD in here. I could wax on lyrically about the specs of the hard drive, but it's a hard drive. It's fast. It's got 1TB of space. It's 6 gigabytes per second. It's got everything you need. I'd prefer to be able to say to you, get an SSD, but you just can't fit it in with this budget. There's nothing wrong with that, though. You can always get an SSD later anyway. Or if you happen to already have a fairly large drive in, say, your recent PC, let's say you bought it 6 months ago, and now you're thinking of upgrading, you could just reuse that, save the extra, like, $50, $60, $70 or pounds or whatever it is in your currency, and go ahead and buy yourself an SSD. So that's always another option. Power supply. Don't scrimp here. Everyone always, the first PC they build, or the first time they're looking into building a PC, ask me the following question: why do I have to plonk down so much money on a PSU? Look, there's this one for like £20 or $25 or whatever. And invariably, it takes me a bit of convincing that they don't really want to do that. PSUs are the one thing that you do not want to skimp on. I'd recommend the Corsair Builder series. The CX600 gets pretty nice reviews, and I've used Corsair, and I've used OCZ, and I've used Antec a couple of times. It's $65, or if you're paying in pounds, about 48 Great British pounds. Case, I don't like giving recommendations for cases because every time I do, everyone says to me, well, I don't like the look of that case, and immediately starts looking everywhere else. I think cases are aesthetic, and honestly, some people think a case looks fugly, other people think it looks beautiful, other people hate working on certain cases, other people like working on smaller cases. Everyone's different is basically what it comes down to. On the other hand, if you do want to twist my arm and you do want a recommendation, I've gone with the Rosewell Line MA. It's not a perfect case, but you're not going to find a perfect case for this price range. To be honest, a case is a case is a case. If you're building a really, really, really cheap rig, you could always just say, screw it, go for the current case that you've already got. There's no one saying you can't. I mean, technically, you could run the PC in a cardboard box. Let's just be honest here. But I'm going to assume that you've got a really bad case. It's falling to pieces, and so you'll need a new case. So I have recommended it. Optical drive. Well, I'm not even going to bother to recommend one. I'm sorry. It's just not even worth doing so. Any optical drive is going to do you. I mean, most people even forget they have it after they've installed Windows, and most people are even using USB now to install Windows. I was actually half tempted to not even include it in the price bracket, but there are some people who still want it. To be honest, I still install Windows with Optical just because it's just habit and it's just easy. I just do it. It's not very technical, I know, but I just can't be bothered to do it via USB, and I know it's extraordinarily lazy with how easy it is. Regardless, anything will do, as long as it's DVD. Obviously, if you have specific requirements, like, for example, you need to burn Blu-ray or you need to read Blu-ray, then more power to you. Go ahead and make a purchase. But generally speaking, who gives a crap? It's an optical drive. It's going to be used once every 6 months, and it's going to feel grateful for the fact that you're giving attention. That's just about it for this video. This machine will rip through pretty much any game at 1080p. Obviously, there will be some exceptions. It won't do it for every single thing under the sun. There will be some games it won't be able to run at 1080p 60. For example, maybe Watch Dogs. But generally speaking, this machine will absolutely destroy most titles out there, and you'll be able to play with higher levels of anti-aliasing and stoppage filtering than a next generation console, generally. And obviously, you're going to easily be able to upgrade. So, for example, 18 months, 12 months down the line, you can put in a different CPU. 12 months down the line, you can put in a better graphics card. Completely up to you. You've got great options for upgrading the memory as well. Everything's sweet. So anyway, that's just about it for this particular video. I've breezed through this as quickly as possible. All the links are in the description, so you can go ahead and check them out. And yeah, that's about it. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.